It really does impress me the way it just says, you are live. Of course I'm live. I'm real. Everything's real. Good evening. It's just gone 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. I'm Tony James. Welcome to my channel. As always, we bring in the best of guests to speak to you. And tonight, oh, come on, smile. That was a big, I'm paying you a compliment.
Thanks very much.
Bringing to you Lee Billinghurst, the vegan runner. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you, Tony, for inviting me on tonight. So, yeah, great. Thank you. My first ever live streamed interview and all that kind of thing. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. As I say, it's not an interview; it's a chat. You're not going for a job. You don't have to try and impress us with your corporate knowledge and all that. It's just two runners talking running.
I'm telling my friends it's an interview. Okay, I'm live.
Right. So first of all, we've got our first watcher with us, which is Kim from Denmark. Good evening, Kim. Nice to speak to you. Nice to see you again. Kim's always here for these lives, and we really do appreciate the support, Kim. So thank you very much indeed for that. So if you are new, please say hello in the chat box. If you've got any questions for myself or for Lee tonight, you can put them in the chat box as well. And if you can put hashtag question, that way we'll see them and won't miss any. So if you could do that, that would be great. So first of all, Lee, let's find out a little bit about yourself. First of all, how long have you been running? Why did you start running?
So I've been running for, I think I'm coming up to about 4 years now. And I think I started running really, I kind of up to about the age of 18, I was a keen footballer, went off to university, found other interests and hobbies, as you do, traveled the world a little, came back, very career orientated and things like that. And exercise and sport really went on my radar. And I think I was the type of person who could run or play sports, and I thought that kind of part of my personality was behind me. And it wasn't until I'm a primary school teacher as my profession now, and it wasn't until like a staff netball match we did a few years ago, where I was playing netball, and I had like 50, 60-year-old ladies outrunning me on the netball court, and I'm thinking, gee, I'm like 28, 29 or whatever I was then. And yeah, I'm being outrun by 50, 60-year-old ladies. Not to say that shouldn't be the case, but I did sort of think, okay, things have got to change here. I'm really like puffing and blowing hard. So I started to get a little bit fit. I really didn't want to run outside at all. I was, I think about 5 stone heavier than I am now, 5 or 6 stone heavier, and quite body conscious. So I spent most of my running time, for the first few months at least, indoors on a treadmill, lost a little bit of weight, and then this thing called park run that sort of appeared on my radar, and I was sort of reading about it and seeing how close my local park run was, and sort of mentioned it to my wife. She was also a runner. She was running for longer than me, and I was like, hey, how do you fancy doing this on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock? And that isn't usually the time that we'd be getting up and all that to go out for a run. So it was a little bit of reluctance. Like, I really kind of want to do that. And I had all of those kind of thoughts in my head about, oh God, it's going to be full of, professional runners, those kind of normal things that I think first time park runners feel and think. But turned up Saturday morning at Park Run in Bovey Tracy, about 100 people there, and everybody from the very serious runners all the way to mums and dads and grannies pushing the grandchildren around in the buggies and walking dogs and all that kind of thing. And it was just such a lovely atmosphere. Absolutely loved that first run. And basically I've been hooked on running ever since, really.
So have you done much park run tourism, or is it just your local one that you do?
Mostly local. I like to stick to Devon.
Yeah.
Sometimes venture down to Cornwall if I'm feeling brave, but
it's a funny part of the world you live in, which we'll come back to parkrun in a minute, but it is a funny part of the world you live in, because I'm up in Blackpool. So you've got like this 8-hour drive to Exeter, and then if you're going to Cornwall, you think you're nearly there, and then you've got another 4-hour drive. It just seems to go on and on the southwest.
Yeah, you get off the A30, and then Cornwall's all like B roads, isn't it? And it takes so much longer than you'd expect.
Right, let's just go back to parkrun. So, look, hopefully, it should be back in 5-6 weeks now. Something I think they were talking about the 5th of June for it coming back. There was an email came out today from Parkrun asking, well, letting us know that they've written to something like 561 landowners asking for permission for Parkrun to be back up and running. Do you think Parkrun itself has really helped the running community grow?
I think so. I think as a country, we've kind of lost our grassroots running, all the way from primary school level, but all the way through all levels of society. It used to be that we were a dominant force in running in the Olympics, and it's obviously shifted to Kenya and Ethiopia and African countries like that. And I think it's mostly because of our grassroots running, and the love and the sort of publicity around running just isn't there. And my thinking is now we've got a generation of junior park runners and a much younger section of society are now regularly running 5Ks. And hopefully over time, if parkrun keeps going, the kind of trying to think of the word, but the sort of publicity of running will lift up, and hopefully we can start producing more world-class runners.
Well, I think this is a problem we've had, and speaking to a lot of YouTubers, speaking to a lot of runners, that we seem to have this: everybody runs up till the age of 16, then they leave school, everything stops, and then they can come back to it in later life and start up again. So we're missing that whole younger to middle age, well, the competitive side of sports, isn't it? That the 20-somethings we seem to be missing in those. And as you say, hopefully the junior parkrun, which has started back and is being really well attended, should be bringing that next generation through of runners. I know we've got Andy Hall with us tonight. Good evening, Andy. His two kids have been doing junior parkrun over the last couple of weeks, so I think we've got another 2 runners there on the way. Whilst we're into this, we'll say good evening to Ben, who keeps telling me he's not a runner, he's a walker, but he's doing the London Marathon this year. So hopefully he'll do very well in that. And I think he's lying a little bit about the walking. So we've got Ben with us. We've got Kim with us. Also, Mark's with us tonight as well. Good evening, Mark. So glad you could join us. Right. So the one thing I really wanted to speak to you about, Lee, was this 80-20 training method. A lot of people have seen it, and I know in my local running group there's been discussion about what is 80-20, this, that, and the other, and it normally finishes up with being signposted towards Matt Fitzgerald's 80-20 book. But I believe you're actually going to be working with Matt. So how did you decide to go down this 80-20 method, and how is it working for you?
So after starting my sort of parkrun journey, quickly kind of found that I could actually do these 5Ks, and I can, I'm quite naturally competitive, so I was sort of each week getting that little bit quicker, and I kind of had a dream of one day crossing the finish line of my local parkrun in first place. And I know that's not what parkrun's about at all, but that was my kind of ambition, and I achieved that, and I was running sub-20 5Ks, and I wanted to get quicker and quicker and quicker. Got my PB on the 5K last, I think it was May, the end of May last year, 16 minutes and 47 seconds. And
hold on. 16 minutes.
Yes. So I mean, it's not
absolutely fantastic,
terribly fast, but it's, I'm very proud of that time really, and the hard work that went into achieving it. And I've been using the same kind of training plan throughout all of that kind of park run time. Lots of speed work, a long run on a Sunday, Saturday park run where I'd usually be, I'd tell myself I'm going to take it easy, but as soon as the timer went off, I was out like a shot and going for a PB pretty much every week. And it ended up really in a bit of a cycle of injury. So I was fortunate last year to have about 6 months of very consistent training, but then after my PB attempt, not long after, ended up with a calf injury. Not long after that, ended up with I think it was another calf injury again. And I was just thinking, this this training plan just isn't working for me. It's good for 5K. It's got me to where I am now, but I keep getting into this cycle of injury. So I think I may have put a post onto my club, the Vegan Runners Facebook group, saying, you know, this keeps happening. Has anybody got any suggestions for training plans and things? And a couple of people mentioned 80-20, and I sort of, a bit like you, I'd kind of heard about it in the kind of background of training plans and things, but there's so much out there that it just kind of goes by you unless you're really kind of interested and looking for it. So I looked into it a little bit more. My wife bought me the 80-20, where's it gone? The 80-20 running book by Matt Fitzgerald. There we go. For Christmas. And yeah, as soon as I kind of got past the first 20 pages, I thought, okay, this is really interesting. So I think the whole premise is based upon that you do 80% of your running easy and 20% of your running really hard. And most recreational runners, according to the research done by Matt Fitzgerald, they tend to be running a lot of their training really hard. And if they do any recovery or easy runs, that's too hard as well. So they're kind of in this moderate zone. Sometimes they're not doing the hard stuff hard enough and the easy stuff not easy enough. And they tend to get into a cycle of either not progressing as quickly as they want to, or going into a cycle of injury like I was. And I think what it really made me notice was how what I thought was easy actually isn't easy running at all. So people may be aware of like zone 2, like all of the different kind of heart rate zones and running and stuff like that. But your easy recovery runs, according to the 80-20 method, should be done at a kind of conversational pace where you could run and chat at the same time. And I definitely wasn't doing that when I was going out for an easy run. I would tend to start off maybe that way, and then you know, see a big hill and maybe a Strava segment and think, you know, I quite fancy having a crack at that, and then, you know, launching myself up it, doing a couple of miles at a kind of moderate pace, thinking, you know, coming towards the end, thinking, oh, you know, I wouldn't mind doing a 7-minute mile to finish off here just to feel like I've done something, and then going home saying, oh, that job's a good and recovery run's done. Whereas the 80-20 method is quite strict, really, in that, you know, you warm up in zone 1 and then you stay in zone 2 for X amount of minutes. And, you know, you've got to do that to give your body time to recover, and then to make sure that you've got enough energy for the really hard work that comes later in the week.
Do you find that running the majority of your runs at I'm not going to say slow pace, because it's not a slow pace, it's just a slower pace than you would normally run, but do you find that you find yourself looking forward to doing that speed work, doing that hill work when you come around to it? You
do, yeah. And because your legs aren't trashed when you come to do the hill work or the interval work, whatever it is, you really feel like going for it. And not every single day, I won't lie, but you feel ready for it physically. Yeah.
I've just seen a comment here from Chris, the running guy. He says 80-20 is definitely the way forward. This seems to be a consensus that's coming across the community at the moment. Mark's also commented, holy 16 minutes. So back to your park run time. Kim, run slow to run fast. Yes, that's definitely the key. Mark's also commented that he hasn't got a slow gear. Well, I think he needs to find one, Mark, because it really will come on leaps and bounds even more. I know you're doing really well at the moment, but if you just take a few slower runs, you might see an even bigger improvement. Ben has commented he's totally opposite to Mark. He doesn't have a fast gear, which is true. Right.
Just to add on to what Mark was saying, that you know, he hasn't got a slow gear. I used to think the same, and I used to think that running slow at a fairly uncomfortable pace would injure me, and I would always feel a little bit achy in some way. I think it was more of a kind of mental thing, really. So that was another thing that was playing into my recovery runs. I just thought, all right, I've got to make sure I'm going at this pace, you know, nothing too slow. So yeah, there's something that the author of 80-20 recommends that you do just before you start any kind of training plan with 80-20, is to do a week of slow, where you run a lot slower than you would normally, and you try really hard to not get out of breath. And if that means walking up hills, then so be it. You know, you just have to spend a week going a lot slower than you normally would. And that kind of made me realize, okay, I am pushing it a bit too hard on these recovery runs, because this feels lovely. This feels easy. So I think it was about a 30-mile week, where every mile was dead slow for me. And I just felt great. It kind of just reinvigorated my running, really. Just, you know, I could soak in what I was running through Dartmoor and all of the beautiful nature and stuff that I've got around me, and not worry about pace and times and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like hitting the reset button.
But a lot of people struggle because it's the mindset that's needed with this, because, as you say, if you slow yourself down, to some people it will literally be just above walking pace that is the pace they need to be at.
I think some people will find starting with 80-20 a lot easier than others, based on that, really. I think where any kind of heart rate training comes into it, if you don't have the best aerobic base to go from, say, if you're a beginner runner and you find that your heart rate jumps really high after you start running, it can be really disheartening to start walking and having to do that. But the people who have been disciplined to get through those first 3, 6, 9 months of doing that and slowing down and walking when their heart rate creeps over, do reap the benefits.
So speaking of benefits, how has it helped you with your running?
Well, it's a little early to say at the moment, because I'm about 12 weeks through the 80-20 half marathon level 1 plan. I'm working towards running the half marathon in a few weeks. Unfortunately, my race got moved to August, so I'm planning a local route. I'm hoping to beat my half marathon PB of about, hopefully I'm going for about 1:25 or under. But it's feeling good. I'm feeling at a level of fitness that I felt last summer when I ran a 16:47. I think at a push, if I went flat out, I could do that again. So I'm feeling positive. And the 80-20, using the 80-20 method has allowed me to run far more miles than I've ever run at this point of the year. So I'm on about 530-ish miles for the year. And to put that into context, I ran about 800 and something last year.
Yeah. So has there been any signs of any of these niggles coming back while you've been on this program?
No, I mean, we all kind of suffer from day to day kind of, oh, my chin's a bit tight today, or my calf or whatever. But yeah, I'm quite religious on the foam roller, quite religious about stretching a little bit after each run, recovery shakes, things like that. Actually, I've got one right here which I'll have a sip of. But yeah, green smoothies, that kind of thing, just getting that good nutrition into the body, and just doing whatever I can really to help my body recover. And yeah, so far, fingers crossed, nothing major.
I know a lot of people suffer by not warming up correctly or skipping the warming ups. We're all guilty of lacing up and going for a run straight out of the car. But no, going and running the first mile slower isn't a warm up. Do you have a warm up routine that you stick to?
I do, yeah. And the 80-20 program has kind of thrown a spanner into that works a little bit. So I used to do a very light, very slow jog to start off with, then a few dynamic stretches, and then crack on, really. And that's worked for me up to this point. The 80-20 workouts tend to start with a 5 minutes in zone 1, then a little bit of time in zone 2, usually another 5-10 minutes, and then you crack on with the rest of the workout, whatever that might be. Sometimes they ask you to, in zone 2, they suggest that you stop your watch and do a few drills and things like that. So that's where I get my dynamic stretches and things in. But I'll be honest, I tend to just kind of go straight into it because I'm just excited about the run. I just want to get it done.
That's the other thing. You're back to getting excited about the run. And I think that's something I share with you. At the moment, it is always a joy to go out and run. When I coming back from injury, I was following an 80-20 philosophy. I wouldn't say it was religiously 80-20 because everybody's different. So some people it could be 90-10, other people it could be 60-40. But that's the 80-20 is the basis of the recovery. And the first 6-7 weeks of my recovery following that method seemed to have built up the base quite well. And now I've gone into my half marathon training plan. Like today, running the interval session I did, whilst it was hard work, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think slowing down just really does make you enjoy your running more.
Yeah, it really does. And when you get used to running in that zone too, you can just relax right into the run. And something that I've started doing recently is kind of setting an intention for that run. So before I start the run, I just kind of have a think whilst I'm doing my warm up or stretches or whatever. What do I want to get out of this run? How am I going to approach this run in a way that, so it maybe I don't hit every interval at the speed that I want to, but I'm going to run it with really light feet, or I'm going to think about standing, or running tall, whatever kind of little focus that you want to give it, so that even if the session isn't 100% successful, or you don't quite hit a split and you feel a little bit disappointed, you can still say, actually, I achieved the thing that I wanted to achieve in this run. Yeah,
every run has a purpose, even if that purpose is just to enjoy the run. So set yourself a mini goal before you go out and do that run. We've got a question from Mark, but before we get to that, if you could just give it a little bit more background from yourself. So you've done the 5K. So what other distances have you run, and what sort of PBs are we looking at?
So I've run, I've never done a mile time trial, and I think once I get past the 80-20 half marathon plan, I've got a few weeks of sort of downtime. I think I'll have a crack at that just to see where I am and have a bit of fun. 5K 16:47, 10K 37:36, I think is the time. But I haven't ran or raced a 10K for a couple of years, so I think I should be able to bring that down a little bit. Half marathon 1:26:24, and that's pretty much where I stop. I haven't run a marathon yet, but I'm hoping to run one in the autumn.
Fantastic. Right, so we've got this question from Mark. He's about to start his marathon training. He's got London and New York coming up in October and November. So would you recommend 80-20 to him? And if so, what advice could you give?
I would, just because it seems to be the way that almost everybody should be running, to a sense that 80% of your running should be pretty easy, and then you've got that 20% that's hard, but it's tailored towards whatever level that you're at. The hard thing will be that 80%. Actually, it won't be the 20% really hard running. It'll be the staying disciplined and staying in that zone too. And I think it is hard. Those first few weeks where you're like, maybe if you're doing it to heart rate and you're looking at your watch and thinking, okay, am I running? Oh no, I've creeped over, I've gone up a slight hill, my heart rate's gone over and I have to stop and start walking again. That's tricky when you're into the mindset of, but this hill is one of those Strava segments, or I was running a pretty decent mile here and I want to get under a 8-9 minute mile, whatever it is that you've got in your head as a target. But I think even though it's 80% easy, I think that would be the hardest part for people running. So just know that the benefits will come. You will build that aerobic base by doing that 80% easy. That's where the hard work really is done to start off with, and the rest will follow.
And it should be said that in the 80-20 book by Matt Fitzgerald, there are plenty of training plans in there as well, isn't there?
There are, I think the book's quite old at the moment. So the last I heard, they were thinking of updating it. But something I found out within the last sort of 6 months is that Matt Fitzgerald and his team now have a website called 8020endurance.com. It's all of the information in the book is pretty much on there, just in a less easily digestible form. And all of the training, they're selling all of the training plans on there. I think from distances from 5K up to the full marathon. And then you buy that plan and it goes onto a platform called Training Peaks. Training Peaks is like a kind of like Strava, but more technical, and it's got a few more fancy graphs and things like that. You can then send that over to Garmin really easily, or whatever kind of watch that you're using, and then those workouts can get synced to your watch. And the brilliant thing about the way that the plans are set up is that every single run, you're kind of told the purpose, or kind of you've got an intention in mind. So it might be that you need to run in zone 3 for one of your intervals. It will tell you why, and it will give you an idea of what kind of pace that you should be going for. And what I really like is that it gives you a little bit of the idea about some of the science behind the workouts as well, why you're running in the way that you're running, why the workout is structured like that. I'm a little bit of a kind of science geek, so I like those kind of things.
And I'll tell you what, Mark, we'll save you a few pennies as well. As soon as I've got the book, I'll drop it off at your house so you can have a read of it and see what you think. So I'll get that sorted out in the next couple of days for you, Mark. Whilst we're just talking from the question there from Mark, there's a couple of comments coming through. Excuse me. One from Dan Runs. Good evening, Dan. Thank you for joining us tonight. 80-20 or 90-10 is working well for his ultra training. He's got a 50-mile ultra coming up in the next month or so. So hope that goes well for you, Dan. And then, strangely enough, we've got a comment from somebody with the same surname as you. So it's like there might be somebody sat in the next room watching.
Yeah. Hello, wife.
Since starting the 80-20, I finally started to enjoy running again after over a year of struggling with motivation or proper goal setting. So yeah, it is run slower to run faster, and you certainly do get that appreciation and love of running back, because I don't know how many times you've seen it on on Facebook and what have you. People, I'm struggling to get out. Always throwing something in the way, always coming up with an obstacle to getting out and run. They're always finding a reason not to instead of finding a reason to get out. Absolutely,
yeah. And I mean, I quite like structure in my life, and the 80-20 plan gives you that structure, and there's flexibility within it as well, so you can shift the runs around a little bit to sort of suit your working schedule. And the recovery runs, well, in my plan, I'm running 6 days a week. And there are 3 recovery runs a week. Any of those can be swapped out for another type of aerobic activity.
Fantastic. We've got a comment here from Ben saying, "Watch out, the missus is about." Keeping an eye on it.
That's what I say.
Right. So running. So you're thinking of trying to get a marathon later on in the year, but you've got this half marathon coming up. When did you say it was?
May 23rd, I think.
So it's only a couple of weeks away, 2-3 weeks away. Yeah. Are you confident? Are you feeling good?
I am feeling good, yeah. So I've ran 3 half marathons now as part of the long run part of the training plans. And because they're in zone 2s, they're not at race pace, but one of them I did around here at like 1,500 feet of elevation or so. And I did that in 1:40. And the brilliant thing about running in zone 2 is that you really don't feel like you're putting in a huge amount of effort. It's just very easy, quite casual running. And, you feel like you can go on forever. So to get back to look at my watch, think about the elevation that I was running, see 1:40 is like, okay, that's quite a confidence booster.
Well, you just mentioned the watch there, and this is a question I've been asked previously. What do you have on your watch whilst you're out on the run? No, how do you have your Garmin or your Polaris or Apple Watch? How do you have it set up, and what information are you monitoring as you're running?
So most of the screen is taken up by the kind of heart rate display. It's kind of like a color-coded chart, and depending on what part of the workout that you're doing, it'll, there's like a little needle that sort of tells you when you're in the green section. It'll beep at you if you're working too hard or working too easy. You kind of get used to that's not something I was into before, but getting into 80-20, that was something new and sort of a bit strange to start off with. And I kind of found myself kind of like looking at my watch so much. It's like, oh, do I really need to be doing this all the time? Like, this is going to be odd. I didn't really like that to start with. But you get used to it. Once you get the zones dialed in, you find yourself, you don't really need to look at the watch all that much. You just kind of casually look at it from time to time. So yeah, the heart rate is at the top of the watch, and then pace for the section that you're doing. current pace, and elapsed time.
Okay. So talking about the heart rate, do you just go off what your watch is telling you, or do you use a heart monitor?
You have the Wahoo ticker. I think it's the Wahoo ticker. I think is the most recent one. I find wrist-based heart rate it's just not accurate enough. It's so patchy, and it can be anywhere from about 10 to 20 beats off. So either too high or too low. It's just impossible for heart rate training really to. Whereas the ticker, it's a little bit irritating for the first sort of 5-10 minutes of your workout. It can give you some fairly erroneous data. So, I could be I could have just strapped it on, started running, and then my heart rate's at 190. No, it's not. So it takes a little while, I think, for your body to kind of warm up and the sweat to kind of start conducting the electricity properly. You can put gel on it and stuff, but now that I'm the zones are dialed in, I wear the heart rate monitor for every run, but I know that for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I know those zones now. I know what's easy and what's not.
Yeah. Okay. Chris has actually asked a question about this. Did you set your heart rate zones by working out your max heart rate first? Because he's found it's made a massive difference. Did you go down that route?
I don't know if this is the same, but I did something called the lactate threshold heart rate run. So this is one of the ways in which you can work out your heart rate zones that's suggested in the book is to run, I think, to warm up for about 10 minutes or so with a few strides thrown in, and then run flat out for about 20 minutes at a pace that you could run for 30 minutes, if that makes sense. So it's kind of your 10K pace maybe.
Yeah. And
then find out your average of your average heart rate for the last 15 minutes of that.
Right.
And then that gave me my lactate threshold heart rate. And on the 80/20 website, there's a calculator where you plug that in, and that gives you your pace, your power, or your heart rate, whichever you're running to.
Okay, fantastic. Right, one question we've not asked. Is most of your running done on roads, or as you live in such a beautiful part of the country, are you out on the trails most of the time?
Funnily enough, for my 5K training a couple of years, well, not 6 months ago, really, a lot of my training was done on a treadmill. So I was like Swifting, I had the Stride foot pod on, and I was on the treadmill for probably 3 out of 5 runs, just because I really liked how I could really accurately dial in the pace. So I knew that if I needed to run a split at a 5 minute mile, then I could hit that pace and I could cover that distance in that. Whereas here, because the terrain is so hilly, it's really hard to find a nice flat section where you can hit those intervals accurately every single time. So so most of the time I was running indoors actually, which isn't that exciting, but it got the results done. Since I've got to 80/20 and wearing a heart rate monitor and running to heart rate zones, I've started running a lot more outside. And in fact, our treadmill broke 6 months ago. So yeah, almost like a sign or something. It just got fixed yesterday. I had my first run on it today, so I could get back here in time for this. But most of my running now, I think about 80% is actually on the trail, and then I do two of my runs on the road, which I'm just loving. I absolutely love trail running. It's one of the things that ignited that passion for it a little while ago. I don't know if anybody knows Park Run in Bovey Tracy, but that's a trail run. It's got I think it's 300 about 200 feet of elevation, I think, across the park run. So a fair amount for a 5K. One of the hilliest, I think, in the country. But yeah, it's pretty. That kind of, I just love that. I love running in nature. Also a bit of a nature buff as well. So at the moment, I'm enjoying sort of counting all the different butterfly species that I encounter on my spring runs. It's just brilliant. So yeah, trail running most of the week. Then a bit of road for the long runs.
Just going back to the treadmill, Swift has just made a whole difference to the treadmill running world, hasn't it? It's taken away a lot of that boring factor when you can just go running around the world now, basically.
Yeah, and you can run with friends, and you can run as part of a group now. And again, that kind of accuracy with the pace is a lot better if you're wearing a Stride foot pod. You can control the terrain as well. So if you want to run, flat, you can even do like hill sessions really on the treadmill. It's not the same, obviously, but yeah, and it's a game as well. So you get experience points and unlock different T-shirts and things to wear. So yeah, they've done a good job.
Right, Ben's actually asked you a question. You mentioned Dartmoor earlier. Have you ever thought of running all the way across it?
I have, and that's as far as it went. No, I would love to, and I know people who have actually. My physio is an amazing runner. She's called Jo Meek. She's a Team GB ultra runner, and she does this kind of stuff for fun. I think she tried an FKT attempt of running across the moors over lockdown. I think she came first in the marathon at the weekend, just a sub 3 marathon. Yeah, she's just brilliant, really amazing. But one thing I would really love to get into ultras eventually, and one sort of little thought that's at the back of my mind, is to run the length of the River Tean. It's been a part of my life for almost its entirety, really. I've lived on or near the River Tean for the whole of my life, and I just thought it'd be great to run from source all the way to mouth. I think it's about 36 miles or so. And I was just kind of thinking, right, yeah, maybe if I reach 1,000 subscribers, when I hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel, I'll try to run that ultra. It'd just be amazing.
Right, you've said it live now, so you're going to have to stick to that. So as soon as you've got the 1,000 subscribers, you're going to have to do it, which is a good point to say. If you haven't subscribed to my channel or to Lee's channel, now would be a good time to do so. Just hit the subscribe button below the video, and I've also put a link in the description to this video that will take you straight through to Lee's site as well. So at some point, please go through and subscribe to both of those channels. That would be great. And if you can give this video a thumbs up, give us a like, that will also help the channel immensely as well. So if you could do that, thank you very much indeed. Right, advert over. Running Man Sam has joined us tonight, so good evening to Sam. He's been at work, so he'll try and watch as much as possible. You can watch it all, Sam, because you can watch it on replay later. And also, Ben has said, sounds wicked. You're going to have to do it.
I think so. I think the seed is, taken root now, and it will happen. But if the 1,000 subscriber could just make sure that it's spring and not like midwinter, that'd be great.
Fantastic. Right, soon as Running Man Sam's joined us, and that's just reminded me. So when you're out running your trails or running your road or on your treadmill, what's on your feet? What shoes are your weapons of choice at the moment?
So up until recently on the trails, I've been trying out the On Cloud Ultra, which is a new trail running shoe from On. They were the first shoe company that I really kind of fell in love with and sort of ignited that passion for running shoes. I tried my first sort of proper pair of running shoes were the On Cloud. Absolutely just love their lightweight, minimalist, comfort. For me, they kind of had it all. A few years, I've tried a couple of models of On shoes, but they haven't quite had that same kind of magic spark that the On Clouds did. Saw the Cloud Ultras, and I was looking for a shoe that could kind of match up to the Hoka Speed Goat. They were kind of marketed in the same kind of way, ultra cushioned, all terrain kind of shoe. Really enjoyed it running in the Speed Goat Freeze over the summer around the southwest coast path, and just thought, actually, I like On. It's about time that I tried another pair of their shoes, but they just weren't as good as I was hoping, or as they were really well cushioned, but the cushion was all underneath this really super hard rock plate, or their speed. I think they call it their speed board. So you couldn't really feel anything through the cushion in terms of like ground feel, but also you couldn't actually get the benefit of the cushion, or feel like you're getting the benefit of the cushion because of this super hard speed board in between. And also that cushioning, because you didn't feel like you were running on anything that was cushioned, it's quite an unstable ride. And for something that's pitched at an ultra kind of shoe, I found that running at kind of fast paces was more comfortable. So I was wearing it for my interval work on trails, as opposed to recovery work, where it just didn't feel really good at all. And like as a trail shoe, if you hit a bit of uneven terrain, you want to know that your shoe can support your ankle and all that kind of stuff. But I was kind of like Bambi on ice, so that kind of things on some fairly easy terrain. So yeah, they weren't my favorite. They were well built, but yeah, I'm in the market now for another kind of something, hopefully, that could match up to the Hoka Speedgoat.
I know if we wait long enough, Dan Runs will be telling us about his ATRs, because he swears by them. So his Hoka ATR. So that would be his recommendation for it. Right.
Yeah, that's what there's up.
So what other favourite bits of kit are you using at the moment?
I really like Compress. I think it's Compress Sport and their range of compression tights and things like that. So I've got a nice pair of compression shorts from them that I like to run in. Pretty good for recovery as well. They're not the sexiest of bedwear, but they do the trick in terms of looking after the quads and things like that. Foam rolling I do a lot of, but I'd use a Grid X foam roller for most of that. But I like to keep it quite simple, really, with the gear. Good pair of shoes, comfortable clothing, decent watch, and yeah, I'm good.
Do you suffer from satellites disappearing on you in Dart, where you are? No.
I have more of a problem running in urban areas, like racing in London and things like that, with GPS signal disappearing than I do out here.
Fair enough. Right, okay, let's move on to YouTube. What got you started in YouTube, and what is your YouTube channel about?
Well, since I got into running, I started watching a few different YouTube channels. So I think the first one that kind of popped into I can't remember his name. I thought about this the other day, and I thought, yeah, I need to find that guy again. He was an American guy who runs a lot of ultras, and I was just getting into running. I thought, God, I would love to do that. And he's running across Arizona and Utah and all that kind of thing. I would love to do that one day. That's amazing. And then I found Seth DeMoore. He's just fantastic. What a funny guy he is. An amazing runner too. And Kofuzi as well is really great YouTuber. And they did a collab, I think, a couple of years ago, where they kind of met up and they started talking. And one of the things they said at the end of their video is that if you're thinking of putting something on YouTube about running, just do it. What's stopping you, really? And I just thought, oh, you know what? I have been thinking about this for a little while now. That kind of seed was planted. I like making films. I like recording. I love running. Why not put them together? And that kind of, the idea sort of sat there for 12 months, really, whilst I kind of worked out, okay, well, what can I film? What, really, will people actually really watch me running and talking about what have I got to offer? And I thought, you know what, I do love running. I'm really passionate about it. I can share something, whatever it might be, and I can reach out to somebody and offer some advice to them. And who knows, you might just get one person, 1-2 people watching your videos, but I enjoy the process. And yeah, I think that's where it was. So it took me about 12 months really to pluck up the courage and the know-how really to make my first video. And then I hit that upload button, and I've been making a weekly video ever since, and loving it really.
Have you found that maybe one video that you didn't expect has blown up and been the most watched? I know with me, it's one of my shoe reviews. It's just suddenly just short of 10,000 views, which I don't know why that particular shoe's just exploded that way. And I know Dan Runs, again, he did I think he did it on a running pack he had. He's got 23,000 views just on this running pack. Have you had anything take off yet for you?
I have, yeah. I got very excited. I think it was either episode 2 or 3 of my 80-20 sort of series that I'm doing. And sort of Sunday evening, just sort of opened up the YouTube app sort of to check out how many views it got. And I was like, what's this, 500? Hang on, what's going on here then? And just saw the graph, and it's just like taking off. And then it went to 600, 700, 800. What is going on here? What's happened? And I think because I had put, because I was doing some training in the video on my kicker bike, I'd put something about the kicker bike in the tag section and things like that. And I think YouTube's algorithm had somehow paired my video with a Saturday Night Live sketch or something like that. So a huge American show. I think the sketch was about the Peloton. So they kind of married the 2 videos together, and I was getting all this traffic from a Peloton video. So I'll take it. Get a few subscribers, and but my videos don't normally get about 4,000 views. That's for sure.
Part of Saturday Night Live, brilliant. Just going to nip into the comments that we might have missed while we've been talking away. Dan will be typing about the compression calf sleeves as well. He loves them. Okay. And then we digress. Where Running Man Sam, who talking about Seth, he's going to be live on Sam's channel on the 4th of May. So I think most of us will be tuning in for that one because, as you say, Seth's a top funny bloke and Sam isn't. So it should be fun. No, Sam is a funny bloke. So it should be a good chat. That so as Ben says, live man Sam.
Make sure you have your bobos ready.
Yeah, definitely. So what's this? 2 funniest YouTubers in one place. Okay, we've got a question from Ben. Lee, have you ever tried the new Burger King Vegan Royale or the Whopper yet? Before you answer that question, McDonald's UK, absolutely pathetic, serving up their mushed vegetable stuff when 2 years ago I was eating the big vegan in Berlin. So I don't know why we're that far behind. Anyway, so Lee, Burger King, have you tried the Royale?
I haven't yet. I've seen it a couple of times on like my social media feeds and things. I'm intrigued, but I'm not 15 anymore. I'm not sure I can pull myself into a Burger King. And I mean, we live so far away from the nearest Burger King anyway. I don't think my wife would let me, in all honesty.
I'm sure she'll be commenting shortly. So Kim says it's a great burger. So yeah. So we'll touch on we'll touch on this. Oh, sorry. Go on. Talk.
Sorry. No, they do look great, and I think it is brilliant that more mainstream takeaway outlets are doing these kind of hopefully gateway meals into a more plant-based lifestyle for everybody, whether you go vegan or not. I think it's a good thing.
So we'll touch on this as soon as it's been brought up. So have you always been plant-based, or is this something you've transitioned to a few years ago?
So I was vegetarian for about a decade before finally becoming vegan about 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And go on.
For me, went plant-based about 3 years ago, and the hardest part of the transition was the junk food. Basically, when you were out shopping and you just want to get hold of a snack, there wasn't anything out there. There was no vegan options. But over the last 2 to 3 years, it's really exploded. Greg's and their vegan sausage rolls, KFC with their chicken substitute, the Subway with their subs. So the choices are more prevalent now than they used to be.
Absolutely. I think I've eaten more and more unhealthily since becoming, or at least in the sort of first 3 to 6 months of being vegan, because you're just like anything that said the word vegan on it, you're just like, yes, I want to try that. Yes, I'll have some of those as well. And yeah, I was probably picking up foods that I wouldn't normally eat. But because they said vegan on them and they looked really tasty, I thought, well, they're for me, aren't they? So I've got to try them.
Yeah, my wife's called me a junk food vegan.
Yeah. Well, people think. So I think people have an idea of it being unhealthy because you can't. They think you can't get all the nutrients that you need and things like that. But it's kind of like the other way. You can really be a junk food vegan now, and you can pretty much eat the same way that you're eating now, whatever your diet is, but replace everything with a plant-based version.
Well, as they say, it might be a plant-based version, but it's still a processed, so it's still not as good for you as eating the whole foods and the raw foods.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a start, and as you say, if it gets somebody down that path, even if they just change their diet by 1%, it can make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think vegans tend to be so passionate about animal rights and animal activism that these big corporations who have made so much money from animal cruelty and animal exploitation, that anything that is kind of good that they do, they can kind of see them just kind of jumping on the bandwagon to make money and things. And there's probably a little bit of that in there. But if it just, the more of these things sell, hopefully the less animals will be subjected to cruelty and all that kind of thing. We can move to, I think we have to now. The science is there that we can move as a world to eating less animals, and we've got to, if we want to stay on this planet, basically.
Yeah, the two things the thing that changed me overnight was What the Health was watching that film. That was a big changer for me. And then was it last year or the year before when Game Changer came out? Again, another good film that I recommend that people watch at some point. Now, if you take anything on board, that's fine. If you don't, you'll still have enjoyed a good film. So that's the two things I can recommend. Have you seen both of those?
I've seen Game Changer. And I think what I really liked about Game Changer is that it wasn't about the animal side of things, which I'm very passionate about, but it was more focused on the athletic and the science kind of performance-based thing. So if you're interested in running and you're interested in getting better at running and becoming healthier, performing better, recovering quicker, then the science is emerging now to show that a plant-based lifestyle is the way forward for that.
Yeah, I can wholeheartedly agree with that. A couple of comments. Ben says you need to take Rachel to Burger King on a date. No comment.
She'd love it. I probably wouldn't see her. She wouldn't speak to me very well.
Fair enough. Marcus said Greg's vegan sausage rolls are now and they are now trailing other products. I know they got the steak bake out, but they're also looking at bringing some sandwiches out as well. I think there's talk of a sub coming out. So
yeah, I think
we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I had my eye on that one too.
I think that's a big thing. Transitioning over, my hardest, apart from the junk food, was cheese. Because I used to love cheese, but then I started trying the dairy-free alternatives. And first of all, they tasted horrible. But what I think it is, you've got to give it a bit of a transition period. So I didn't touch cheese products for about 6 months, and then tried one again, and suddenly the taste was back. So I think it's one of those that if you're transitioning over, don't look at cheese as transitioning straight away. It's something that you've got to get out of the system before you put it back in.
Yeah.
Have you come across anything else like that?
Yeah. So again, with cheese, I wasn't a big cheese eater. But my wife was, and she's a really big foodie. Really loves cheese. The smellier and the gooier, the better for her. So I think that was the one of the main things that stopped us going vegan sooner. Really, is that she thought that she couldn't give up cheese. But I think the plant-based alternatives have come leaps and bounds since even the past sort of 3 years or so. The Applewood cheddar is just amazing. It's so similar, I think, to the real stuff. Some people I've given it to have said that they prefer that to the normal Applewood cheddar. But she's finding substitutes for all of those like Camembert and Stiltons and things like that. Like I say, it takes a little bit of transitioning to. Don't expect the exact same thing, but you can get some great flavors, some great taste in those cheeses.
Well, that's one thing we've noticed in our household. The herbs and spices drawer used to have maybe 6 or 7 herbs and spices in there, but now I think we've got about 40, 50, because the way we cook's changed. It is more whole foods, it is more fresh foods, so we are starting from scratch and playing around with cumin and coriander, and it just flavors seem to have exploded. since we've gone down this route.
Yeah, it does take you on a different journey with food. You start to have a different relationship to it. You start caring about the kind of things that you're putting into your body. I mean, I'm very fortunate that Rachel really is just an amazing cook. She'll cook dishes from all over the world. She'll find a recipe that, you know, food that she's never cooked before in a style that she's never cooked in before, and she can just make such a brilliant dish from it. So I don't have to worry too much about the food kind of side of things, because I'm always fed this really beautiful, well cooked meals. I hope that will get me off the hook now for Burger King and all that kind of stuff.
I've noticed also with myself and my running and doing the marathons that I've looked at the foods in a different way from the sports and the athletic side of it. What does work? Where are the proteins? Where are the antioxidants? You know, what do I need to eat to recover? So there's a lot more going into meal planning from the running side of things. Is it similar in your household if you're both running?
Yes, in that Rachel kind of looks after the food and nutrition side of things. I mean, I try to listen, but it tends to go in one ear and kind of out the other. But you know, she'll be telling me about the meal that we're about to have, and you know, all of the great stuff that it's got in it. That like turmeric for anti-inflammation, kale for all the iron, or all the other goodness in it, and tons of other ingredients. But yeah, it just changes your world. I think becoming plant-based and opens up your mind to thinking, okay, this is fuel for my body. This is something that I'm taking from you know, the outside world and putting inside of me. Mm-hmm. I want to achieve these running goals, and you know, I want to run well tomorrow. I want to run injury-free over the next you know, 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it might be, however long your training plan is. You know, I've got to look after this. Nutrition is going to look after me from the inside. I'll feel good. My body will feel good. I'll perform well.
Fantastic. Right, I'm just looking that we've been talking now for 57 minutes. Time has flown again. Right, so just a few more minutes left. So if anybody's got any questions for Lee, if you can type them into the box, we'll give you a couple of minutes to get those questions through to us. I had a really good question for you, and it's just gone in that ear and out the other. I shall try and think about it in a moment. So where was I going to go? I'll throw myself now.
No, probably free with a long-winded answer.
No. I'm just trying to think. Where was it? Food. No, totally gone. So right. If you've got any questions for me, Lee, hit me up now. Any questions for Lee, let us know in the box, in the comments box, and we'll try and get those answered. So what's the plan for the rest of the week for you, running-wise?
So I've got 2 recovery runs coming up. I think this week is actually a recovery week. And this is something new to me as well, in that every 3 weeks of training, you have 2 weeks hard, and then on the 80-20 plan, it backs off a little bit. So you have a kind of recovery week, and another 2 weeks hard, third week again, it backs off, and everything just kind of slowly progresses. So this recovery week is the hardest recovery week in the plan, in terms of running duration and things like that. But yeah, so I've got those two to look forward to. I'll be running up and down the River Tean again, not the whole length, but just a little section. Then it'll be some kind of interval session on Friday, another recovery run Saturday, and then I think it's an hour and 40-minute long run on Sunday. So again, just backing off a little bit. Last Sunday was a 2-hour long run. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Right. Okay. Finally, then, we've mentioned your channel. The link will be in the description below. So go on. You've got 30 seconds. Sell us an advert for your YouTube channel.
Okay. Well, I make weekly videos on everything from running shoes to 80-20 training to vegan plant-based nutrition. I try out products, go for a run. You'll get to see the beautiful Dartmoor scenery and lovely things like that. Plenty of sheep.
Fantastic.
Plenty of sheep. That's my advert.
That's going to stick with you now for a long time. You're going to put a video out in a couple of weeks' time, and you're going to get a random comment there. Where's the sheep? It's going to haunt you forever.
Hashtag
Lee,
where's the sheep? Yeah.
Hashtag where's the sheep? That's a good one. Right, we'll run with that one. Lee, thank you very much indeed for your time tonight. Really do appreciate it. Thank you to everybody for watching this evening. Thank you for your time. As I say, without you, we'd just be two runners talking nonsense together. So thank you for being part of this evening. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Lee's channel, give this video a thumbs up, give us a like. That would be fantastic. And I will see you all again next week. So everybody, thank you very much indeed. Lee, don't go anywhere. I just want a quick chat with you off air. Mark has just said sheep has sold it.
I shouldn't be exploiting animals. Oh no.
No, but they're still alive. You're not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think I'm all right.
Yeah, you can look at them. That's fine. Take nothing but pictures. Leave nothing but footprints. Thanks for a great chat this evening. Make sure you enjoy. No, we won't talk about that, Ben. You've got him in enough trouble as it is. Right. Once again, thank you very much indeed. See you all again soon. Ta-ra.
Cheers.